Good morning, everybody. Travelin' Trav here. I'm going to read and respond to this post made by Eileen Workman. Eileen Workman wrote this book, channeled this book called Raindrops of Love for a Thirsty World. And there's a lot of good wisdom in here. I've spent some real time with this book, and it's been a great influence for me. So thanks for all your thoughts, Eileen. Inflection points. Inflection points in a human life can be described as the specific choices we have made that have shifted or radically redirected the entire course of our own lives. Many of these pivotal choices stand out in our minds. The decision to go to a particular school, major in a particular subject, take a particular journey, investigate a particular subject, marry a particular person, etc. We remember making these decisions, and sometimes we even remember agonizing over them, or later coming to deeply regret having made them. What fascinates me even more? The teensy tiny inflection points that we never really thought much about at the time, but that we can see with the power of hindsight how monumentous of an impact they have had on our present moment reality. The decision to race through a yellow light at the intersection, which led to being in the wrong place at the wrong time, and that left the driver paralyzed after a serious car wreck a mere half hour later. The decision to allow a stranger to trade seats on an airplane that resulted in the person who gave up their seat meeting the love of their life, who just happened to be seated in the aisle seat of the new row. The decision to watch a documentary film out of boredom, which then activated a passion for a new subject that the person had no idea they would find endlessly inspiring and would determinedly then seek to master over the course of their entire lifetime. The decision to pick up a paintbrush out of idle curiosity just to see if it might be something fun to do. What inflection point moments, grand or minuscule, do you recall now that your heart recognizes as crucial moments leading to your current life experience? Thanks for asking, Eileen. I sure appreciate your work. About 6 years ago, I went to the hardware store over my lunch hour and bought some strong rope. I tied a noose and hung it up in the garage. I scooted an old vinyl upholstered bar stool up to my way out. I balanced there for 30 minutes, on my knees, the bar stool creaking under my weight, holding the noose in both hands, crying and coughing pitifully and chanting this phrase, "I have the power to end this." I listened very carefully to the man on the stool. I realized that he did not necessarily want to die. Self-compassion arose. This man did not want to die, he just wanted to end this. And so, after a long while, a time which I estimate to be about 30 minutes, he carefully got down from the stool. He continued to repeat the phrase, "I have the power to end this. I have the power to end this. I have the power to end this." That was a risky way of bringing myself to a cathartic moment of realization. I did not want to die. I just wanted out of the suffering. But I kept the rope. Months later, on another particularly dark night of the soul, the rope called to me, all night long, from a closet. It was like that Edgar Allan Poe story, Telltale Heart. The rope kept calling, creepy. The next morning, I got dressed for work, but I couldn't stop crying. My tears prevented me from seeing the road to drive, and I knew that I could not see my first physical therapy client in that emotional state. I could not perform patient care. I was no good for my workplace. I pulled over on the side of the road to wipe my tears. That's when I decided to drive to the emergency room at the hospital where I worked, instead of going to my job in the PT department. I knew that going to the ER meant a trip to the psych ward, but I was that desperate for help. I told myself, never go to the ER, never go to a psych ward, but I did. I voluntarily surrendered to hospitalized psychiatric treatment. At the psych ward, they searched my asshole for weapons and drugs and then gave me some blue paper pajamas. I asked myself, why are they treating me like a criminal? Is this my path to healing? I stopped, right there in the hall of the psych unit in Roswell, New Mexico. I looked down at my black socks and my blue paper pajamas, and I surrendered internally to the process as best I could by praying a really simple and selfish prayer. I committed myself to receive help, and I recommitted myself to life and process with this simple and selfish phrase, God help me. I've been receiving and giving help in deepening layers ever since. I've been reaching out and meeting new people, trying new things, continuing the search. After a few days in the psych unit, I got myself into a 30-day mental health treatment program. While I was there, someone recommended that I reach out to the place where I met you, Eileen Workman, and Dave. What a trip. Choices. I often remember that line from that Tom Hanks movie, Castaway. After managing his own ingenious escape from the island by using an item that washed in from the ocean, he says, "You never know what the tide might bring in." Something to that effect. You never know what the tide might bring in. You never know who you might meet or what beautiful new ideas and situations may present themselves. We have the power to end this suffering. Together. We discover our common work, our common stories, and our common love. We support and we are supported. We have the power to end this suffering. My prayers have changed from God help me to God help us. And then they changed to a simple proclamation. God has made a way for us. Today, my life is an expression of the way that is made for us every day. Love and deepest respect for all life everywhere. 3 years ago, my little brother killed himself. There was nothing I could do to stop that. I know, because I stayed with him for 1 month just before his death. His condition helped me to see the severity of my familial suffering. My little brother was trying to talk to me about shame, but he couldn't. He knew that there was a conversation that he needed to have, but it scared him so bad that he couldn't do it. Now, I choose to speak about what, to most people, is the unspeakable. I am saying what I must say to make meaning of our generational trauma, epigenetic suffering. I realize now that my story is the human story. I choose to see my suffering in every instance of suffering that manifests in the world. Empathy, compassion, generosity of spirit. I am not alone in this suffering. We are not alone. This sense of desperation, I now understand, is the shadow work that all of humanity is called to. From my brother, I inherited a copy of Thoreau's Walden, in which he says, "There is no wisdom in desperation." I think sometimes we get the wisdom message when we hang on through our desperation, and that is what I continue to do today. I hang on through whatever desperation arises. I pray for our strength to weather the storms together. I pray for greater collective wisdom. I pray for healing wisdom and new healing modalities. I pray for union and communion and deeper love. I pray that my children would see a new life in me. Our lives must become messages of hope for one another. And it is in this relentless commitment to the death and rebirth process to which I wake up every day. Pivotal choices. Blessings to you all. Peace to you all. Deepest blessings.